When talking about the Old West, life wasn't easy. There was danger all around, but what made them survive was the powerful weapons they carried. So the question is, which ones were the strongest? And which ones were the deadliest back then? Let's dive into the top 10 Old West Brutal Revolvers ever made. Number 10. Colt 1877 Thunderer. The Colt 1877 Thunderer is one of those revolvers that cannot be ignored when talking about the most brutal Old West revolvers. This weapon was Colt's first double-action revolver, introduced back in 1877 and packed the 41 long Colt round, which was accurate for most of the gunfights of the Old West. However, the weapon had some issues, such as the heavy trigger, which made it difficult to fire in double-action mode. Not only this, the internal parts were also delicate, which often broke down. But what was the reason that despite so many flaws, people still trusted their lives with this one? Because when it worked, it was fast, compact, and perfect for close encounters, and could deliver 6 shots quickly. Who doesn't like having that extra firepower with them during the trouble? Of course, everyone. Yes, it might just not be perfect, but it was built for the rough life of the Old West. What's interesting is that over 166,000 pieces of this revolver were made. Even famous names like John Wesley Hardin used it, which further cemented its status in history as one of the most brutal revolvers of the Old West. Number 9. Colt 1860 Army. Curious to explore another revolver people relied on when things got ugly? Meet the Colt 1860 Army, which came in 1860 and quickly became the go-to sidearm for Union soldiers during the Civil War. Chambered in .44 caliber, it's a 6-shot revolver that was accurate, powerful, and could reach out to almost 100 yards. Seems like a no big deal today? Yes, but it was definitely impressive in the 1860s. This thing was super smooth and light when it comes to handling, with a pretty manageable recoil for .44. The rounded barrel blended smoothly into the frame, giving it a clean look, while the case-hardened frame and hammer added strength and durability. Not only this, the metal parts on this gun were blued, which protects the steel from getting rusted, something which was a game changer in the 1860s. Let's not forget the style with a grip made from a single piece of walnut, giving it an Old West feel. When it comes to handling, it was lighter and easier to carry with no top strap. Instead, it relied on the strong lower frame and fixed cylinder pin for durability that also helped reduce the weight. Over 129,000 pieces went to Union soldiers, and many ended up with Confederate soldiers after being taken in battle. Seems like a perfect weapon? Not really. One problem with the Colt 1860 Army was its open-top frame. With prolonged or heavy shooting, this could actually bend. In addition, the barrel sometimes came loose after too much firing, something you definitely do not want in the middle of the fight. But even with all these issues, this revolver was trusted by several soldiers during the Civil War. Sure, it had its flaws, but it earned a reputation as one of the most trusted revolvers of the Civil War and the Old West. Number 8. Remington New Army 1858. In the chaos of the Civil War, the Remington 1858 was another revolver that earned its name as a solid and trustworthy weapon. It had some great features like a solid frame, which was strong and tough enough to take enough beating to perform flawlessly, no matter what. Reloading was quick and hassle-free, all thanks to its interchangeable cylinder that can be swapped out easily without needing any tools. What's interesting was that the Remington 1858 had safety notches between the chambers on the cylinder, so even if the gun fell, it would not fire, which gave a lot of confidence to the soldiers to carry their revolvers fully loaded. And let's not forget the power that packed a .44 caliber punch, which was powerful enough to stop a trouble. Over 122,000 of these were made, and even Buffalo Bill carried one into the 1900s. So yeah, if a legend was calling it reliable, it definitely was, without any doubts. Number 7. Colt 1902 Philippine. Do soldiers have the luxury of second chances? Of course not. That is where the Colt 1902 Philippine really shone. At the beginning of the 1900s, the standard 38 rounds just couldn't stop the tough enemy fighters. Hence, Colt stepped in and came to the rescue. It took leftover frames from its 1878 double-action revolvers and gave it some serious upgrades. First off, the mainspring was enhanced to hit the primers harder, making sure every single round fired even in the toughest conditions. Then came the trigger, which was made heavier and longer with a pull weight of over 20 pounds. And to accommodate that giant trigger, a huge trigger guard was also added so it could easily fit in. And of course, it packed the .45 Colt cartridge that does its job way better than the regular 38 rounds. All these upgrades made this revolver a bit heavy with serious recoil, but it still worked flawlessly, even in the challenging conditions, every time, despite having all these flaws. After all, when lives are on stake, nobody cares about the style or looks, but one that works every single time. Number 6. Remington 1875. Remington didn't stay behind Colt when it came to making a tough, hard-hitting revolver for the Old West, and that's where they introduced the Remington Model 1875, which could equally compete with Colt's revolver. Unlike a detachable backstrap and trigger strap, this thing featured a solid frame that could handle the tough life of the Old West without any damage. Not only this, it offered multiple calibers like .44 Remington centerfire, .44-40 Winchester, and even .45 Colt, so you are not stuck with one ammo. These revolvers were produced in fewer numbers than the Colts, about 25,000 to 30,000, but those who owned them knew they had a dependable tool in their hands. It also had less muzzle flip than most revolvers of its time, making it super manageable. It even used fewer screws than the famous Colt Peacemaker, so it was incredibly tough. But just like anything, with all those pros came a few downsides too. The revolver was a bit heavy, with no replacement parts easily available as you could for a Colt. Despite these, it has earned a reputation for surviving the Wild West. Number 5. Colt Frontier 6-shooter. Ready to explore another smart move by Colt? Meet the Colt Frontier 6-shooter that comes chambered in .44-40 Winchester, the same ammo used in Winchester rifles. So instead of carrying different types of ammo for both revolver and rifle, you only need to carry one for both. Yes, they were not produced in larger numbers such as the .45 Colts. That is why they can go for tens of thousands of dollars at auctions, making them a rare piece that everyone wants to get their hands on. When talking about the features, it's the same tough and reliable as the Peacemaker and came with a solid frame and great trigger. The revolver also had a frame notch rear sight paired with a blade front sight that helped line up the shot. Then there was a kidney-shaped cartridge extractor that helped clear those empty shells faster, making life easy. The revolver also offered finishes like blued steel for a sleek look or shiny nickel that quickly catches the eye. After all, even soldiers have the right to show off a bit of style on the frontier, don't they? Collectors love them because they're rare and carry a unique taste of Old West history. Wouldn't you want to get your hands on one, too? Number 4. Whitneyville Dragoon. The Whitneyville Dragoon was another true milestone in Old West firepower. The revolver was an upgraded version of the Colt Walker, hence nicknamed the Transition Walker. Let's look at the brief history of this revolver. Before Colt even had his own factory, he teamed up with Eli Whitney Jr.'s plant in Whitneyville, where they used the leftover parts from the Walker, so the resulting firearm was smarter and even lighter. The improvements Colt did were to shorten the barrel first to 7.5 inches because the original version had a longer barrel, which made it difficult to carry and draw. Then they incorporated shorter cylinders that helped to reduce additional weight while still packing serious firepower. And the best part? They added a loading lever latch to the revolver, as the loading lever was known to drop down with each shot due to intense recoil. The problem was fixed by incorporating a latch that kept everything secure and locked, no matter how intense the recoil is. So, yeah, the upgraded model was super reliable and faster than the original one. Only 240 pieces of this weapon were ever made, and it was the most powerful handgun at that time. So if you find one today, consider yourself lucky because you are holding a piece of Old West history right in your hands. Number 3. Colt Walker. Think we are done? Not really. Introducing the Colt Walker, which was a result of Captain Samuel's efforts to create something powerful enough to take down a fighter with one shot. This revolver features 9-inch barrel packing 60 grains of powder per chamber, which was twice as much as any other revolver of that time. Sure, it was powerful, but it comes with a hefty weight of around 4.5 pounds with a strong recoil. Not only this, its cylinders even exploded with these heavy kicks, so soldiers were bound to load lighter ammos just to stay in the fight. Seems like a big deal, right? But despite all these issues, what made it a trusted tool was its raw power. It hits hard even at 100 yards, the kind of punch soldiers could always count on when things got serious. Talking about numbers, only 1,100 were made, and today, fewer than 200 survive. So yeah, the Colt Walker might not be the perfect firearm, but it was definitely the most powerful one of its time. Number 2. Colt Single Action Army. The Colt Single Action Army, also known as the Peacemaker, is just another revolver that proves to be a game changer in the Old West. This thing was the 6-shooter everyone trusted, and the U.S. Army even made it their standard sidearm. Chambered in the powerful .45 Colt cartridge, it was rugged and reliable. The design was simple with a solid frame and single-action trigger where you cock the hammer before each shot, giving you control with every pull of the trigger. It was also tough with a machined steel construction, which made it incredibly durable, paired with a sleek polished blue finish and black composite eagle grips, which gave it that iconic Old West look. The Colt Single Action Army was also easy to aim, so it's easy to target even under pressure. Handling was also great, which felt perfectly balanced in your hands, so you don't have to struggle to control your weapon. Ever dealt with a jammed gun at the worst moment? If so, you know how much of a problem it is. That is where this revolver really shone, as it worked flawlessly without failing, giving reliability to soldiers to trust their lives with. The revolver was originally chambered in the powerful .45 Colt, but later came in other calibers too, giving flexibility to the shooters. If you haven't had a taste of this revolver yet, you are definitely missing out on holding a true legend of the Old West in your hands. Number 1. The LeMat revolver. Who says you can't have both a revolver and a shotgun in one weapon? The LeMat revolver proved you could. This unique weapon used a revolving cylinder with 9 chambers for bullets and a 20-gauge shotgun barrel underneath, resulting in an innovative gun. What's great was that it featured a hammer with an adjustable lever that allowed you to choose what to fire. Amazing, right? Big names like J.E.B. Stuart and P.G.T. Beauregard carried it. That alone speaks about its reputation. If they trusted the LeMat in the heat of the moment, you know it's not just for show. It definitely had serious firepower to defend everything like a pro. If you need one today, this revolver is hard to find. Only around 3,000 of these revolvers were ever made between 1856 and 1865. If you happen to see one today, consider yourself lucky, because you have that rare piece of Old West firepower that is nearly impossible to have. So, are you ready to feel the power of the Old West? Just choose your pick from the list and step back in time. No matter which one you choose, these revolvers left their mark on history, which you can also relive today. That's a wrap to our video today. Remember to like and subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed watching it. See you soon again. Take care.